We have a very busy criminal docket today, but just one witness because we are a little bit back in time for the Banfield trial. You have probably seen it referred to on social media as the au pair affair trial because, yes, the defendant was having an affair with his au pair. We have a really long day of court. And what we saw yesterday from the au pair that stuck with me overnight is that she indicated, and again, this is going to depend on how much the jury believes her. And remember, juries are nuanced. They can believe some of her testimony. They can believe all of her testimony. They can believe her testimony and say, I think she's downplaying parts of it, but I believe this, and that. It just depends on the jury and the nuances of the testimony, and we can't really evaluate that till after cross-examination. But the things that stuck with me is she said that she and her employer, the co-defendant, Banfield, didn't have a conversation about their relationship being more than just a physical fling until after he started talking about getting rid of his wife. That has stuck out to me. Also, every time she said, and it was many, when she said, well, he said this because of the investigation and he said that because of the investigation. We know that he is a investigator with the IRS, but yes, the IRS has sworn agents that are investigators. I don't know if that is something that she would be coming to him with entirely. I don't know if this is information that would be within her purview when he's saying, we need new iCloud accounts. He's saying, we need new iCloud accounts. We need new phones. I need to change my pattern of behavior well before this event so that I can plan to be here. It shows a substantial level of planning. There's quite a lot of information here that doesn't read to me as if it's organically coming from her. So it's going to depend on what the jury believes. Do I think she was probably more involved than she's coming forward with at this point? Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes,
What is it?
it's my plea agreement.
Can you read paragraph 5 for us aloud?
Yeah. My attorneys have advised me that the punishment which the law provides is as follows: a maximum of 10 years imprisonment and a minimum of 1 year's imprisonment, or in the discretion of the jury or the judge sitting without a jury, up to 12 months in jail and or a fine of not more than $2,500, or both. And also the probation may or may not be granted, and that if I plead guilty to more than one offense, the court may order the sentences to be consecutively, that is, one after another. The following plea agreement is the full and complete agreement between me, my attorneys, and the Commonwealth's attorney. The Commonwealth has amended count 1 of the indictment and will no pros count 2.
Null pros means will not prosecute count 2.
The Commonwealth will recommend the defendant to be sentenced to a period of active incarceration, capped at the time served at the time of sentencing, provided she remains incarcerated until such time and conditioned upon the defendant's continued cooperation with the Commonwealth.
What does that mean? She pled to an amended count 1. They null pros count 2, which means essentially they'll dismiss it. They amended count 1 to be a manslaughter. The maximum is 10 years. The prosecution, this is more like a federal plea deal. The prosecution is going to recommend time served. That means you get sentenced to the amount of time you've been in custody. She got arrested in 2023 and has been in custody since then. It depends on when she's sentenced, how long she's been in. You don't know that until she gets sentenced. But the prosecution agreed to recommend time served. The judge has a range of discretion up to 10 years. This is more like a federal plea. We saw this in the Murdaugh case. The prosecution came in and recommended something, and the judge said, and this is completely my paraphrasing, the federal judge said, fuck that shit, and sentenced Murdaugh to way more on the federal charge. The prosecution's recommendation is just a recommendation. The judge determines the sentence, and it's capped at 10 years.
Before you entered this guilty plea, did you have your own attorneys?
Yes,
And were you able to discuss with your attorneys the options that you had with regard to your own case in this matter?
Yes,
And were you able to discuss with them your option to have a trial if that's what you wanted to do?
yes,
And were you able to discuss with them options for a plea agreement, to talk about a plea agreement?
yes.
Who paid for your attorneys?
Brendan's mother.
Girl, what did you just say? That was shockingly much faster of an end to direct examination than I anticipated. But there was some new information that we did not know. So what did we learn at the rest of the direct examination today? We learned about the co-defendant's plea deal. And yes, even though she has pled, she is still a co-defendant. They did this together. Her plea deal included a reduced charge for count 1 of manslaughter and a no pros or a dismissal of count 2. The maximum on that is 10 years. The minimum on that is 1 year. The prosecution agreed that if she was cooperative with them, that their sentencing recommendation would be time served, provided that she stayed in custody this entire time. The judge ultimately will determine the sentence somewhere between time served and 10 years. She's been in custody since October 2023. So we learned more about her plea deal. We learned that the defendant's mother was paying for her attorney. When asked, why did you take a year to plea? Why did you make the decisions that you made? She talked about how she was afraid that if she didn't maintain the story that she was maintaining, that she wouldn't have her lawyer paid for because the defendant's mother was paying for her lawyer. You see where that's problematic? Is that an ethical conflict? It shouldn't be. Can it feel like it to her? Can it feel like pressure to her? Sure. That the defendant's mother was the one helping her communicate with her family in Brazil. She was worried about that. That she and the defendant maintained a relationship while she was in custody through letters and phone calls. That the defendant's mother and grandmother and stepmother were maintaining contact with her in custody, putting money on her commissary, putting money on her phone card so she could connect with her family in Brazil. And then all of that stopped when she signed the plea deal. She said that she signed the plea deal because essentially this was weighing on her conscience, that it was the right thing to do, that she was tired of the shame and the guilt. I think there's probably more to that. The fact that after the murder, the co-defendant au pair, Juliana, moved into the main bedroom with co-defendant, defendant in this case, Brendan, and then mom and grandma moved into the house. So by the time she's arrested, mom's moving into the house, grandma's moving into the house, and she's just like living wifey life with her co-defendant. So I imagine that the shame and remorse all kicked in while in custody, as it gives you some time to find your feelings, apparently. And we are getting on to cross-examination. I'm real interested to see how this goes.
Ma'am, can you see the new letter that's on the screen right now?
Yes, I can.
Looks like it's July 24th, 2024.
Correct.
And it appears it's a letter from you to my client.
Yes, it says, I would feel if we were able to get a guilty plea for me, that would be pleaded guilty for voluntary manslaughter plus time served, plus not testify against you, plus deportation. Well, that actually sounds good if he gets it from a case instead of facing a murder charge, plus sentence.
So she's like, hey, can you get me some of that time served and I don't have to testify against him?
Correct.
I'll just go home.
Because since the beginning, what they tried to get from me was for me to testify against you. So maybe they would give us that under the condition if I turn against you. A lot of people end up turning against the other person. They either broke down after a few months in jail or they got a good deal for their sakes.
And are there any particular media or news people that you communicate with frequently?
Yes.
Have they given you anything? Have they provided you anything?
Yes, they have become my support system. So they've been helping me with money to communicate with my mom, my family in Brazil, and whoever I want to communicate with.
They're putting money on your books.
And money to a commissary and that stuff, yes.
So they're, in the absence of Tess, who used to pay all of that,
Yes,
these two are paying money toward your commissary.
yes.
And what is it that they want from you?
Eventually I want to tell my story.
And have you negotiated anything?
Because this is vague as to time, we do not know if this is before she decided to take a deal or after she decided to take a deal. However, counsel asked earlier when she lost the support of the defendant's family. And she lost the support of the defendant's family when she took a deal. So it is reasonable to assume that this has happened since she decided to take the deal. So if it happened after she took the deal and signed it, then it's not her incentive for taking the deal.
No, not really.
Okay. Have they thrown a number out?
Have they what?
Have they thrown a number out for your story?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, what is it?
Have you agreed to that number?
No.
Okay, so you're still in negotiations.
Well, you can say so.
Why are we
You tell me.
vague
You're the
posting?
one who's involved in it.
Yeah, if you want to say yes. That's from my mother to me.
Can you read the highlighted portion to the
It
ladies
says-
and gentlemen of the jury?
It says, but it seems that I was guessing he was guilty and putting the blame on you. At least you'll get rid of this. I don't know if it will be good for you to tell. I'm afraid she might block you from being able to talk to us. But you know what is best, because she probably doesn't know that he planned it. If you tell Mimi, tell her not to cut you off from your mom, please. Tell her that it was who planned it.
It appears that your mother is telling you that Brendan is the planner, correct?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay. And was that the first time that you said that?
Judge, I'm going to object. This message is from,
I can't unring that bell. It's a delayed objection. Thank
Okay.
you.
Is that the first time that you said it, that Brendan, in time, on October 26, 2024, is that the first time that you said what your mother's written here?
The first time I said what?
What your mother has written in this message?
Well, that's the only one I see here. I don't remember if she had said it before. I can recall.
I'm not asking about whether she said it. I'm asking about whether you said it.
But I'm confused because this is a message from my mom to me,
Yeah.
not from me to her. So I don't know what I said before this.
Well, it appears she's telling you to tell Tess or them that Brendan planned the whole thing.
Well, that's what she said, yes.
Okay. And what I'm asking is, was that the day when you told the police that Brendan planned the whole thing?
I had mentioned to my mom before about the plea. I had mentioned to her that I was thinking about taking the plea. And I had the reasons I was scared of why I didn't take the plea. And this message, that's when I told her that I had signed the plea, and that's what she responded to me. But she was aware before that I was thinking about taking the plea.
I don't know how far we are through the defense cross because we have been lost in the wilderness for 84 years at this point. But at the end of cross, right before the lunch break, the defense is trying to point out that the defendant can't remember a whole lot of details. The problem with that strategy at this point in cross is that all the defense has done in cross is pull up letters and communications that she was having while in jail and then sprinkling it in with, was this before your preliminary hearing? And she's like, I don't remember the date of my preliminary hearing. And he's like, oh, I'll move on. He hasn't held his questioning to this witness specifically enough to show that she doesn't have details about anything other than specific dates. And when he's asking for the specific date, when's the specific date you first told your mother X? She's like, I don't know. I told her this, and that's what's in this letter. But even when he's going through the timeline, he has marked them as exhibits. He has not admitted any of them as evidence. And as we were going through, he has not said a single time, can I publish these to the jury? So I was hopeful that the jury could see them and maybe see the dates, but he wasn't always reading the dates in. He is trying to build a timeline, but there are gaps in the dates that he is pointing out. I think there is room to talk to her about the lack of specificity in some of her testimony, but he hasn't done that at all. So trying to zing the witness with, well, you don't seem to remember much, before you've done the groundwork of saying, well, you said this or this, which is it? But here it says this, which is it? In your interview, you said this, but which is it? The defense questioning has been vague and kind of scattered. And when she struggles with his questioning or avoids it, depending on how you read her answers, he's like, oh, you don't remember details. It's not tracking, because we do see other cross-examinations where the defense will stack like thing after thing after thing after thing after thing, and then push it over like dominoes. And you're like, oh shit. And there's also witnesses where you're sitting there going, oh my God, just answer the question. And in this cross, at least at the lunch break, I'm sitting here going, oh my God, just ask a clean question. But the witness also seems incredibly over this attorney and his questioning, and is very quick to say, if you're insinuating this, then. The major insinuations that we have seen from the defense, which might give us some insight into the path that he may pick, is he has insinuated that she had all of the police reports and discovery before she came up with this new story. Did he spell that out that cleanly? No, he sure didn't. But he set that up as an argument. You had all the discovery from police before you changed your story. He also set up that she was miserable in custody and very unhappy with her attorney and very unhappy with the case getting continued and very frustrated that she felt like she was left hanging by her attorney leading up to when she took the plea. And that at that point, she was incredibly frustrated. There were also moments in those letters where it seemed that she was also frustrated in her relationship with Brendan, and that things were not going well, that she felt that he had been disloyal based on things she had read in the media. He didn't ask any more about that, which I would love to see. And we saw snippets of her talking to her family about whether Brendan was going to move with her back to Brazil when she went back to Brazil. And she was talking with her family about whether or not that would be a good idea, and that her grandpa likes her ex Bruno better. So yes, we finally found a trial where we do, in fact, talk about Bruno, but not enough, because the defense didn't ask any follow-up questions on that. I was very curious. And then they asked her about whether or not she was in negotiations to sell her story, and if they had thrown out numbers. And then there was nothing about what those numbers were, nothing about if those numbers had been solidified. But we did learn that 2 individuals from a production company were putting money on her books after the Banfield family et al. Cut her off and stopped putting money on her books and stopped putting money on her phone card and stopped supporting her. When did they stop supporting her? The day she took the plea deal. She maintains that she took the deal because it was time to tell the truth, and she could not really live with the stress of not being forthcoming. But it does seem that that increased after he was arrested. And I very much wonder if when he was arrested, her anxiety went through the roof, that he was going to pin all of this on her more. Leonard, a quick minute to thank our sponsor for today, Shopify. Not only has Shopify been a great partner as a sponsor, but the Leonard shop wouldn't be up and running were it not for Shopify, because I built the Leonard shop way back in the day, it feels like now, when all of you were like, do we have merch? And we're like, we can. So if you're ready to launch a new business or you just want to streamline an existing business, Shopify has you covered. Shopify gives you everything you need to sell both online and in person, which makes it stand out. So it's no wonder that millions of entrepreneurs already use Shopify. And you know how you can tell? Well, if you have the Shop app, you can log in to most of the places you're already shopping with Shop Pay. And it's so easy. Shopify stores aren't cookie cutter. You can choose from hundreds of beautiful templates and you can customize them to match your brand, your style, and they're easy to change as you grow. Plus, Shopify's super easy to set up and all the connections you need to make to sell on social are handled right in the back end of Shopify. So if you're ready to get started or you're ready to grow, Shopify will grow with you. It's why it's been our choice since the beginning for the Lawnard Shop. So Lawnard, in 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/Lawnard. Just head to shopify.com/Lawnard, shopify.com/Lawnard, and you're gonna start hearing this sooner than you think. Thank you, Shopify. Now let's get back to the case brief.
Do you remember the message first? And then I'll
Well-
ask you the question.
There was all the type of messages, again, exchange the same kind of messages. It's impossible for me not to remember, but it's hard for me to say which one of us wrote those messages.
Okay, it looks like there are some of the things that you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you would oftentimes be part of.
She's been consistent
Yeah.
in that. I think she's been clear in her answers. Let me know if you see it differently. I think she's been clear in her answers. We did this frequently. Everything we said was similar. So I remember the messages, but I can't tell you for this one specific question if it was me or if it was him. That answer is logical and it makes sense and it tracks.
Are those familiar to you based upon those items that you testified to the jury?
It is familiar.
Okay, but you don't know which one, you or Brendan?
We both used those exact same words. It was, yeah, all the time.
Okay,
Sir, with all due respect here, I said those things are all very familiar words we used with all the people we communicated. So if you want me to be specific, again, I might say it's me, I might say it's Brendan, and if I'm not sure, what am I doing? I'm guessing, and I'm not doing this.
so you're not going to answer my questions about specific pieces of evidence that I'm showing you?
Objection, she answered, objection asked and answered, objection argumentative.
I think she says she's not going to do this.
In other cases we have watched, there have been witnesses who have done like the bend and snap limbo to get away from questioning. And it has been so frustrating that I have sat here screaming at those witnesses. This defendant is sitting here being like, yeah, I totally shot that guy. And yeah, I totally helped plan this horrific crime and stood at the bottom of the stairs and listened to the employer that I quite liked being attacked and was still like all good. And now she's sitting here and she's like, counsel, what the fuck? And I'm like, girl, I'm on the same page. Counsel's cross-examination is not making her less likable to the jury. The defense ended their cross-examination asking the co-defendant about if she had heard the 911 calls, not following up on her testimony from yesterday saying that you could hear Joe Ryan on the first 911 call, and not asking her about anything past the moment of the 911 call, not asking her anything about how vague and unspecific her testimony gets when the murders happen in the bedroom. We spent 9,000 years going over who typed which message that all seemed to be quite a lot the same. Did you have the laptop? Or did he have the laptop? And who was texting messages? And I understand that the defense will probably want to argue, you don't know my client was texting these messages. Sure. But asking her nothing else is wild. I don't know if there was anything in that cross that counsel asked that made it seem like she was lying to him, making things up. She was pretty clear when she's like, I don't remember the date. And then at times she's like, I remember that it was just before this. And he's like, but what date? And she's like, well, just before this. I don't know exactly what date that was. I don't know if a lot of new information was learned on that cross-examination or if she was caught in anything that she had been untruthful about before. He asked her about her interview with law enforcement, but he never pinpointed things in the law enforcement interview. And he said in the law enforcement interview that was more than a year before this trial, when she took the plea deal back in October 2024, which of the messages in FetLife did Brendan send? And she had specified 5 of them. I know he sent those, it seemed. But he never clarified on that. And she said, I remembered it then. I don't remember it now. And we got more discussion about whether or not she was in negotiations for selling her story for a book or a movie. And in one of those messages, she said, they're going to make money off it. I believe she was talking about Netflix specifically in that message, but they're going to make money off of it. We deserve something. He cut off most of that and said, you think you deserve something. And well, her answers were definitely unlikable. She also explained, well, yes, I want to make sure my family gets paid. I had been working and now I'm not. And I want this money. I want them to hire my mom. I want this money to go to my family. And I want to make sure my family's taken care of for everything that we've been through. And while the jury might find it distasteful, I don't know if it makes it seem that she is being untruthful in talking about the conversations that she and the defendant had in planning this murder. I don't know if it undermines anything that she said. And it's going to be based on how the jury feels about her testimony, which also can be very mixed. They can find it distasteful, but she also made those negotiations after she signed the plea deal. So does that change the plea deal? Was she trying to take a plea so that she could sell her story? Or was there other motivation for taking the plea deal that she explained? And then selling her story was like, well, if they're going to make money, I'm going to make money. So, yeah, it is what it is.
So is it fair to say that you're 22, 23 years old when this plan begins? Is it fair to say that you're 22, 23 years old and you've fallen in love with your employer at the time that this plan begins?
Yes,
And your employer is older than you are, is that correct?
15 years older.
And he's a law enforcement officer, is that correct?
Correct.
And is it fair to say that as this plan marched on, is it fair to say you're far away from home?
Yes,
I mean, the jury knows
And
that.
are you away from your mom, your grandpa, your other family members of support?
yes,
And after you were arrested in October of 2023, you're how old?
23, I'm say.
So had you ever been in jail before?
No, never,
Had you ever been accused of a crime like this before?
never.
And while you were in jail, is it fair to say that you're still a continent away from your family and your support system?
Yes,
And is it fair to say that you miss them?
terribly, yes.
And is it fair to say that you were worried and concerned about what your future would be?
Yes,
The defense argument is that the prosecution is essentially using this witness to like make a case fit and to tell the story that they want to tell and whatever. But knowing that that's the defense strategy, using your whole redirect to lead also looks like you're just spoon feeding her what you want her to say. At the end of day 2, they finished the testimony of co-defendant Juliana, who was the au pair for the Banfield family. The strategy on redirect to just go all leading was actually kind of wild, given that the defense is trying to say that this witness is a mouthpiece for the prosecution, and trying to defend and make it like better that she was in negotiations to sell her story, because what's she going to do for work after she murdered someone, was a very interesting strategy. We'll see if the defense argues about the prosecution doing a full leading redirect before they objected, because it does fit into their theory of the case that the prosecution is just using this witness and she is going to say anything to get out of custody. But again, there are points of her testimony that I don't know if she would have known if not for the conversations. I'm interested to see what the digital forensics say. I'm interested to see what the defense witnesses say. I'm very curious to see where this case goes. So I guess we'll see when we get into the next few days of trial. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss updates on your favorite cases, you're going to need the Law Nerd app at lawnerdapp.com. That way you can stay in the loop on the cases that matter most to you, and you never know when you're going to catch feelings for a new case. So make sure you get it for free on iOS and Android. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a Law Nerd.